This is The Haunted Bookshop by Christopher Morley. Illustrated by Douglas Gorslin. J.B. Lippincott Company, Philadelphia, New York. Copyright 1919. And this edition was printed in 1951. To the booksellers, be pleased to know, most worthy, that this little book is dedicated to you in affection and respect. The faults of the composition are plain to you all. I began merely in the hope of saying something further of the adventures of Roger Mifflin, whose exploits in Parnassus on Wheels some of you have been kind enough to applaud. But then came Miss Titania Chapman, and my young advertising man fell in love with her, and the two of them rather ran away with the tale. I think I should explain that the passage in Chapter 8, dealing with the delightful talent of Mr. Sidney Drew, was written before the lamented death of that charming artist. But, as it was a sincere tribute, sincerely meant, I've seen no reason for removing it. Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 6 appeared originally in The Bookman, and to the editor of that admirable magazine I owe thanks for his permission to reprint. Now that Roger is to have 10 Parnassuses on the road, I am emboldened to think that some of you may encounter them on your travels. And if you do, I hope you will find that these new errands of Parnassus on Wheels Corporation are living up to the ancient and honorable tradition of our noble profession. Christopher Morley, Philadelphia, April 28th, 1919. The contents page. The Haunted Bookshop, the Corncob Club, Titania arrives, the disappearing volume. Aubrey walks part way home and rides the rest of the way. Titania learns the business. Aubrey takes lodgings. Aubrey goes to the movies and wishes he knew more German. Again, the narrative is retarded. Roger raids the icebox. Titania tries reading in bed. Aubrey determines to give service that's different. The Battle of Ludlow Street. The Cromwell makes its last appearance. Mr. Chapman waves his hand. Chapter 1, The Haunted Bookshop. If you ever are in Brooklyn, that borough of superb sunsets and magnificent vistas, of husband-propelled baby carriages, it is to be hoped you may chance upon a quiet by-street where there is a very remarkable bookshop. This bookshop, which does business under the unusual name Parnassus at Home, is housed in one of the comfortable old brownstone dwellings. Which have been the joy of several generations of plumbers and cockroaches. The owner of the business has been at pains to remodel the house to make it a more suitable shrine for the trade, which deals entirely in second-hand volumes. There is no second-hand bookshop in the world more worthy of respect. It was about 6 o'clock of a cold November evening, with gusts of rain splattering upon the pavement, when a young man proceeded uncertainly along Gissing Street, stopping now and then to look at shop windows as though doubtful of his way. At the warm and shining face of a French rotisserie, he halted to compare the number enameled on the transom with a memorandum in his head. Then he pushed on for a few minutes, at last reaching the address he sought. Over the entrance, his eye was caught by a sign. Parnassus at Home. R&H Mifflin. Book lovers welcome. This shop is haunted. He stumbled down the 3 steps that led into the dwelling of the Muses, lowered his overcoat collar, and looked about. It was very different from such bookstores as he had been accustomed to patronize. 2 stories of the old house had been thrown into one. The lower space was divided into little alcoves. Above, a gallery ran the wall, which carried books to the ceiling. The air was heavy, with the delightful fragrance of mellowed paper and leather surcharged with a strong bouquet of tobacco. In front of him he found a large placard in a frame. This shop is haunted by the ghosts of all great literature in hosts. We sell no fakes or trashes. Lovers of books are welcome here. No clerks will babble in your ear. Please smoke, but don't drop the ashes. Browse as you like. Prices of all books plainly marked. If you want to ask questions, you'll find the proprietor where the tobacco smoke is the thickest. We pay cash for books. We have what you want, though you may not know you want it. Malnutrition of the reading faculty is a serious thing. Let us prescribe for you. By R&H Mifflin, Proprietors. The shop had a warm and comfortable obscurity, a kind of drowsy dusk, stabbed here and there by bright cones of yellow light from green-shaded electrics. There was an all-pervasive drift of tobacco smoke, which eddied and fumed under the glassed lampshades. Passing down a narrow aisle between the alcoves, the visitor noticed that some of the compartments were wholly in darkness. In others, where lamps were glowing, he could see tables and chairs. In one corner, under a sign lettered Essays, an elderly gentleman was reading with the face of fanatical ecstasy, illuminated by the sharp glare of electricity. But there was no wreath of smoke about him, so the newcomer concluded he was not the proprietor. As the young man approached the back of the shop, the general effect became more and more fantastic. On some skylight far overhead, he could hear the rain drumming, but otherwise the place was completely silent, peopled only, so it seemed, by the gurgitating whirls of smoke and bright profile of the essay reader. It seemed like a secret fane, some shrine of curious rites, and the young man's throat was tightened by a stricture, which was half agitation and half tobacco. Towering above him in the gloom were shelves and shelves of